All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of dPod. It's been a really long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yep. I'm sorry, but we've been up to a lot. We had like a good news event. Reached out to like 300 people or whatever.
We went on a road trip.
We went on a road trip to UIUC.
We did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, if you say it like that, it seems like we didn't do much.
Yeah. ERT, evangelism road trip. The beginning
we
word
only
is important.
listed two things. anyways, all right. Well, we're back. I'm happy to be back recording, and in the studio today we have Bia and Tof.
Hello. What up?
And it's the first of I'm hoping many interviews with the various couples on our team.
Yeah.
And getting to know them. I've done a lot where it's just different groupings of people, but not with just the couples, and asking about them and what their experiences have been. All right, so here we are. All right, so Tof and Bia. We're gonna start off with a little quiz.
Uh-oh.
Okay,
Easy.
okay. Not really a quiz, but it's that newlywed game, the
Yeah.
marriage game or
Yeah.
newlywed game or whatever. All right, we're gonna see how well you guys know each other's preferences.
Let's go.
All right,
Easy.
so here I'm gonna ask you a question, and you both have to yell out the answer at the same time.
Okay.
For the other person.
No. Like I'll ask about a specific
gotcha,
person.
gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, just to make it very clear. Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay, and then I'll ask the question. I'll go 3, 2, 1. And you have to shout your answer.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. What is Bia's favorite color?
Yellow.
No.
Yeah.
Toph, what's her favorite color?
It's yellow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Did you know that?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I knew that already.
You have to wait for the 3, 2, 1. That's awesome.
I know the answer.
All right. What is Toph's favorite color? 3, 2, 1.
Black.
Green.
Oh! Hey, we have zero evidence, by the way, that Toph was actually gonna say yellow earlier. So I like how he
Just trust me.
Anyways, okay. How does Toph like his eggs cooked?
Oh.
3, 2, 1.
Sunny side
Over
up.
easy.
That's close enough.
enough,
Yeah,
yeah.
close enough. All right. How does Bia like her eggs cooked? 1, 3, 2, 1.
Sunny
Over
side up.
easy.
Wait,
I just said what I like.
you guys basically both just said what you like.
Yeah. Basically.
That's hilarious. So you just remembered it as sunny side up or
Yeah.
over easy. Oh, that. Anyways, you guys are classic. Okay. All right. Who is more likely to snooze the alarm between the two of you? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Tof.
Oh wow. Okay. On average, how many times?
Once.
Oh, one. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, wow. This is very consistent. I'm very impressed. Okay. All right. Who is more likely to forget their phone at home? 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Wow, you guys are solid. Okay, what is a nickname? No.
I don't think I go there.
Never mind. Okay, when did Toph become a Christian? Month and year. I'll give you a few seconds. When did Toph become a Christian? Month and year. 3, 2, 1.
May 2016.
Okay. I was going to say sophomore year. I don't remember the month.
Oh, is that right? Sophomore year?
No, freshman year.
Freshman year.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
yeah. It's confusing because maybe Toph made like multiple decisions or something. Right?
Yeah. I also joined our church sophomore year.
Okay, that's
maybe,
right.
maybe why.
That's the date you're remembering. Maybe.
Yeah.
When was it? May?
May 2016.
Okay.
Okay, what is Bia's favorite music artist? Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Mary Ryan Ward, or whatever her
Madison
name is.
Ryan Ward?
Madison
That's pretty
Ryan
good.
Ward.
Yeah. I was like, I don't even know.
Made up a name. It's close enough.
Close enough.
Yeah, it had the M and the A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a last name, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you guys for playing. Okay, so so it's nice to have the couples on to kind of get to know you in the context of your context of your marriage, and so just wanted to maybe have you guys share a few stories that come to mind. So, well, first of all, like how did you guys first meet? Like how did you guys start dating? Like, just kind of curious about the background.
Yeah, for sure. So I just knew of Bia because we had a bunch of retreats where all of my class or all the churches would come to our home base up in Alameda.
The Harbor Bay building in California.
Yeah, Harbor Bay building. Yep. Yeah. So I knew of her through those different visits, when we were seniors, juniors, and then postgrads too. But she had no idea who I was. I just knew of her. But yeah, I think around like my first year out of college, like August 2020 or something like that, I was starting to think like, oh, maybe I feel kind of ready to like start thinking about marriage and stuff.
This is like it's like been the following summer, right?
Yeah,
After graduating.
Yep. So like a year removed from that. So I think the last time I'd actually like seen or crossed paths with Bia was like 7-8 months before or something like that. And I just remembered her and thought, oh yeah, like I wonder if she'd be interested in dating. So I just called her and asked her out.
How'd you get my number?
We don't have to talk about that.
Yes, you can.
All right. So
Oh, I didn't know. Wow, thank you, Bia, for feeding the question there.
yes. I don't want it to sound creepy, but basically, like before I asked Bia out, I'd already done as much as I could to learn a lot about her. Like before I did, so I already knew like that she had like a bunch of sisters, that she's from Hesperia, that she works in like teaching in Oakland. And I found out that her number was on LinkedIn, so I just used her number from LinkedIn to call her.
Your number was on LinkedIn?
Apparently, I think
What?
it still probably is.
Yeah, I was surprised too. I was like,
Is that a thing?
Is that normal?
I don't know.
They probably don't have that feature anymore.
I don't think that's normal.
Yeah, it's not. No. They had it on the mobile app. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I got it.
Well, it worked out for you.
Well, that's nice. Well, due to Tof gave this like really gross face right now, like he's really proud of himself.
When I found out, I was so creeped out. I was like, "You what?"
Yeah, I made sure not to say that till.
But you know,
later.
I thought it was gonna be a lot more creepy than that.
No.
Actually, that's your fault, Bia.
The number was there.
Well, the fact that he did research on you, I could see that. But you know, then he's just doing his homework. I guess, you know?
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah. Yep. Trying to learn.
Yeah, that's cool. So you didn't know Tof when he called you, like at all?
No, well, I think I saw him in some of the videos we did during COVID, like our church videos.
Oh, I see.
He was like rapping or something.
Oh, for like one of the Chicago videos or something.
Probably,
Yeah. I
something
think it was
like
like
that.
after George Floyd, and like they had like all people. Like,
Oh
rapping.
yeah,
One
that's
voice
right.
Song, yeah.
one
Yeah,
voice
okay,
song.
yeah, Tof sang that or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But I think my first memory of him was he was actually visiting HB for something. I think you were here for like, I don't know, retreat or something. But it was post grad, and you were in the HB kitchen, and all these guys were surrounding you and like, you know, making a bunch of noise. And then I was like, what is going on over there? And I turn and I see you, we make eye contact, and I was like, psh, you wish. And I kept walking into the HB library, and I was like, who is this man? Why is he looking at me? I just kept walking. I was so arrogant.
I probably wasn't even looking at you.
You probably were. That's why I was.
Well, you literally thought psh-you-ish.
Yeah, I literally thought that. I was like,
Can you just help me
no.
understand? Is that like a normal? Is that just like a common thought in the women's psyche? Like,
Depends what woman.
Yeah, when
you
I first
talk
heard the
to.
story, I was like so shocked. Like, dang, that's so aggressive, bro.
dang.
I had a lot going
gosh.
on. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
I got to
All
work
right.
through it.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Anyway, God was like,
Wow,
oh,
thank you for being honest.
You just
Thank you
wait.
for
You'll
being-
marry this man.
Hey, this is gold right here.
Yeah.
They're just being honest right now. All
Yeah.
right, so
Yeah. Straight
okay.
up.
So I'm curious. Any like interesting, funny stories from when you guys are dating, like,
Oh, I took first date.
and like learnings from it, or
Yeah. So what I learned from our first date was that like different parts of America have different climates. And
What?
So what I mean by that is like
you mean like Alaska and Hawaii?
yeah. Or like California and Chicago.
Oh, I see.
So at this point, when we had our first date, I was like, I'd lived in Chicago for a year already. And so I was like, you know, used to the cold or whatever. So if it's like 50s, 60s, I'm out there in shorts and stuff like that. So I asked Bia, hey, like, do you want to go hang out at the beach in Northern California?
It's Alameda
Yeah.
Landing. Yeah.
In Alameda, yep. And she was like, yeah, sure, let's meet up there. But then as soon as we got to the beach, I was like, dang, it's actually like really cold, like right now. And Bia looked like very visibly uncomfortable.
Uh-huh.
And so I started trying to like, you know, talk to her and like learn more about her. And then she just looked too uncomfortable. So I was like, oh, hey, like, do you want to just like go inside somewhere? She's like, yes, please. This is not good.
Okay, so he shows up in like shorts
Yes.
and like a t-shirt, and I'm wearing a full-on like jacket and like it's like a super randomly cold like August day or something, right?
Yeah.
I'm wearing
Totally
a sweater, and I'm
unprepared on
like,
my
what
part.
is this man wearing?
Yeah.
And it's windy because we're by the water.
Yeah.
We're sharing our testimonies, being all spiritual, sitting on like this really like nice driftwood thing, and I'm freezing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like learning more about my family, and I'm like, I'm really cold.
Yeah.
That's why he can't remember when you became Christian.
Yeah.
Because you guys talked about your testimonies that day.
Yeah.
but
Which is
all that was going on in her mind was, it's cold and psh, you wish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Why does this guy bring me out here? He's crazy.
I didn't know what your face really looked like because you had a mask.
I was wearing
on.
a mask. It was COVID days.
It was
Yeah.
COVID days,
So I was
our
also
first
wearing a
date, I
mask.
didn't really
Oh,
see
you
his
guys wore
face.
masks during your dates.
The first date.
The first date.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
I guess so.
Yeah, so she probably didn't really know what I looked like.
I didn't know what he looked like.
That probably helped you. Sorry.
It was dark. I can't really see that.
Oh, man. I don't know what's happening this episode. I think we're just excited to be back on.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally got
It's true. I couldn't judge you by looks 'cause I didn't know what you look like.
Right.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah, another thing that happened was whenever I talked to my Choi, because I think when we were coming in later on, like when I was telling guys about like my BNI's first few dates, we were in Northern California, like kind of randomly. We'd moved. JD was moving back to California, so we drove from across the country and brought him back, and we were there for like 5 days or something like that. And so I was like, hey, I'm living in Chicago. I don't know when next I'm going to be in California to see Bia. So I want to like maximize and make the most of it. And so we basically went on a date like every single day I was there. And then it ended up becoming like this weird legendary accumulation thing where people were like, yeah, Tof went on like 3 dates like every day for like a week when we went to California to see Bia or whatever, stuff like that.
3 dates every day?
That's what it became. I was like, dude, how is that even possible?
It was like breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah. Right. But one day we had then was Bia was doing like the virtual summer mission trips.
Yes.
So I think it was Thailand.
Camp Blue.
Camp Blue.
It was Camp
Okay,
Blue.
Taiwan. Okay, sounds good. So like they were doing it from California, but because of the time difference, they had to start early in the morning at like 5 or 6 or whatever. And so initially we were actually meant to leave for Chicago that day. So I was like, oh hey, it'll be good to see Bia one more time before I leave. So I was like, oh hey, like do you want to like meet up in the morning and go for a prayer walk before your mission trip?
At like 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
No, seriously.
Yes.
I was getting ready and I was like, what am I doing? It's 4 a.m.
Yeah. That was my brilliant idea because I'm like, I don't know when next I'm going to see her. So
So if you had to get up at 4 a.m., get there by 4 a.m., how early did you have to wake up to get ready?
I mean, I think you met me near my house. in
Yes, I
Alameda,
did.
So I probably got up like, I don't know. What time did we meet? Like 4:35?
something like that. Yeah.
I think I only got up like maybe 40 minutes before.
Oh,
but I was
dang.
Wow,
really
40
angry
minutes
putting on
before.
my mascara. I was like, I don't want to do this
Wow.
right now.
So that's one of these like counterproductive dates.
Totally.
Yeah.
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 I mean, I was like, wow, he's really spiritual. He wants to pray for my
Wow.
family. When I told my mom this, she was like, you did what?
With who? At what time?
So was your mom like thumbs up or thumbs down?
No, she's like, you could have gotten killed. You don't know this man.
You don't know this man. That's true. You don't know this
It
man.
was like
Dude,
our
she
like
didn't know
first week
me.
of dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, he was a member of church.
Yeah,
Exactly.
like,
So
you can't kill
you know
me,
enough from
Almeida.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, if my housemates were awake right now, they'd be like, where are you going?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what did you learn from that, Tof?
I learned that you don't necessarily have to maximize every single time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
good.
basically what I learned.
Yeah. That's a good lesson for ministry too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Just because you want to see them don't mean they want to see you.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. 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 Let the ground lie fallow for a little bit. Yeah.
That's good.
Yep.
You know, it's good if they miss you. That's
Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't want to overstay your welcome. Anyways.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, you know, you guys dated and how long did you date for? Like
10 months.
Oh, 10 months? Something
Yeah.
like that? Yeah. Okay. And then you guys got married. So, and how long have you been married now?
It'll be 3 years in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah. Coming up.
Yeah. You're almost out of the newlywed stage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I consider the first 3 years approximately the newlywed stage. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So, hey, what have you learned so far? Like, what has been learning for you from marriage? Like,
Yeah.
how has what has that taught you?
Yeah. One thing that comes to mind primarily is that like my schedule and plans are now like more directly impacting on another person.
Yeah.
Or like have to factor in another person into like my planning decisions and stuff like that. Because I still for a little bit tried to kind of operate independently in a sense. Like, oh yeah, I'm still gonna like, you know, go work out when I want to and like skip dinners and stuff like that. But then I kind of realized like, hey,
You would skip dinners?
sometimes, yeah.
Wow.
Or just be late to dinner.
Oh.
Or just be late, yeah. And
Like
so,
Bia would be like, "Oh, dinner's at this time," and then you're like, "Okay," and then you just don't show up.
oh no, it was just more like we just didn't like align on hey,
Oh,
we're
I
eating dinner
see,
at
I
this
see.
time.
Oh, okay,
And
okay,
so
okay,
I just
yeah,
assumed, okay, if we're not like planning to eat dinner together, I'm just gonna do my own.
Oh yeah,
thing.
that's
basically what it
totally a
was.
single man's attitude.
Yeah, exactly. yeah.
And I'm like, we should probably eat together.
Yeah,
so we should be
exactly.
home.
Yeah, it's one of those things that just wasn't obvious.
Yeah,
to me.
yeah. No, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I just kind of realized like that, like, oh hey, like, if like we're both free, I should plan to like spend time with my wife, for example, and I should like keep her in sync on like, you know, what I'm up to and where I'm gonna be.
Right.
Because yeah, when you're living with single guys, like it's like, you know, you can generally let them know, but people are just generally like, you know, doing your own thing. So just learning to like, I guess in that sense, surrender my autonomy, because now like, you know, I'm like bonded to Bia forever. So yeah.
Yeah. So I want to speak to that a little bit, because I mean, you talked about how even when you live with guys, it's not like that. But imagine if you had never even lived with guys.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so there's plenty of people in the world that go from, you know, like, you know, they lived under the parents and then they went to college and then they got their own apartment or whatever. Or, I mean, you might like have a roommate, but then you essentially have two separate places, like, because you have your own room and your own bathroom, and you really don't need to like interact at all. And for people to go from that to being married and like having someone who you're like forever tied to, like, that's a pretty big jump, I think. Yeah. And so I actually think that people having roommates, and especially for Christians, like as a single, I think it's crucial that people have roommates.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know, like instead of living by yourself, because like there's so much of learning to love and relate to people that happens in the context of that kind of close quarters,
For sure.
Yeah.
where you just have to interact with each other. You can't run away from that relationship.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so anyways, I think that has been a huge help and a preparation for many of us at our church who lived with roommates, like when we were single.
Yeah.
And even if it's slightly, and even if it's not quite as much as it is in marriage, it still prepared us in some ways.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, yeah, that just came to mind when you were talking about that. But yeah, any other lessons like Bia for yourself? Yeah.
I think for me, one lesson is that like when my husband asks me questions, he's not judging me, or he's not like questioning my like intelligence in any way. He's nodding vigorously. Okay.
Yeah. Very vigorously.
He's like, she gets it. But he's actually just trying to understand my point of view, because he's not in my head. He doesn't really know why I'm thinking the way that I'm thinking, or like why I'm making the decisions that I'm making, how I'm making decisions. And so for me, earlier on in our marriage, even now, sometimes like I get really frustrated when Tof asks me questions, but that's just basic human interaction. To ask questions about things that you're interested in. I remember we had this conversation. We were like sitting on our couch, and I was like really upset about him asking me questions about something we were planning together. And then he was like, if I didn't ask you questions, it would be as if I didn't care. And I was like, oh, okay. Because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I like to kind of feel like, oh, you got this. Therefore, I'm not going to ask you any questions. I'm not going to check in about anything. And that's my way of showing like respect to people, especially I guess to my husband. But he doesn't work that way. He's like, no, I'm showing you that I'm interested and I care about what you're talking about by asking you questions about it. If I didn't say anything, that would mean that I wasn't invested at all and I didn't care. And I just like clicked like, well, we're different. How we show each other honor and respect is different, and that's okay. And so like, yeah, I should be able to voice what I'm thinking and like how I'm planning things, and that's not something I need to feel threatened by, but like it's my way of actually like doing ministry or like doing life with my husband, is by being open about my thought process with him. So that was very like clarifying, even though I know that we're different. Like I was like, oh, okay,
That's
it
like a
like
real
clicks.
concrete thing where it's different.
Yeah.
So why do you think? So do you take it that way when like your girlfriends like ask you questions?
No.
So why do you think that is?
We talked about this, right?
Yeah.
I think you look so justified right now.
Hey, get that smirk off your face. We're having like counseling right now or something. Let your wife speak.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. I was like, yeah, why do I not feel threatened when like my friends ask me a million questions? I actually feel like, oh yeah, I'll
Yeah, because don't they ask you like lots of questions?
Lots of questions.
Yeah, probably more than Tof actually.
Way more than Tof,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
and it's like sometimes advice I don't need, and it's like okay, and I don't feel threatened by it. But with my husband, I feel threatened because like I realize there's this insecurity where like I want to be seen as like what's that word? Not self-sufficient. I want to competent. Thank you. I want to be seen as like competent before him. Like he doesn't have to ask me anything. I got this. He can count on me. I'm gonna be like super wife and get everything done.
Proverbs 31 woman.
Proverbs 31 woman, but to like an intense degree. So then when he asks me questions, I'm like, oh, he doesn't trust my thinking, or like, oh, he doesn't think I'm able to do this.
Yeah.
And then I feel like, ooh,
Yeah.
my whole demeanor of like super wife is being like threatened right now. Therefore, I need to like take out the claws and like tear him down. But then I realized, like, no, like, my husband respects me, and he trusts me to do things. So, like, him asking questions does not at all diminish my, like, his view of me.
Yeah.
Even if I think it does, but it doesn't, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I just want to be awesome in our
No, it
marriage.
makes sense. It just, I think it's as simple as you care about what he thinks a lot more than you care about some of what your girlfriends think. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think that's what it ultimately comes down to. And you know, that's why we talk about how, like, you know, 3 years, 5 years even, I think, like, we could consider couples newlyweds because, and I think generally, I mean, I'm a little bit generalizing here, but, you know, generally on the women's side of things, I've seen that they have, like, the women have a harder time believing and trusting that their husbands just love them for who they are.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of, you know, when I counsel couples, like when they first get married, and we're helping them coaching them into good habits and things like that. Like, I'm constantly trying to remind the guys, the number one thing is you have to make sure that your wife knows you love her and cherish her, and that it's really not about any sort of performance. It's like she's just loved for who she is.
Yeah.
And that just is gonna take like 100 and 1,000 little interactions, a little like showing grace to each other, forgiveness to each other when people do mess up, and you know, appreciation and words of appreciation and things like that. So anyways, yeah, I think that's the dynamic. So it's not too surprising to me that happens. Yeah. And particularly because Tof is a Enneagram type 6, and he probably does ask questions that are unnecessary.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because I've experienced that side of him too, and I'm like, all right, let's just move on now.
Yep.
Yeah, but you know, yeah. So you know, I am confident that over time you'll come to appreciate that part of Tof instead of feeling threatened by it, because you know it's something that he does also to. I think it's also for the type 6 Enneagram. I mean, again, generalizing here, but it's actually how they show love. It's actually how they show care.
Yeah, that's what
Right.
he was
So
saying,
yeah, so that's what it is. Yeah. Yeah. Great. All right. So hey, I was curious about this because you guys are sort of a cross-cultural couple, right? Because Tof is not American.
International student.
Yeah, dude, he's an international student. Dude. Well, I mean, he was a former international
student.
Yeah, and so, you know, Nigerian, and even though you, I guess, born in America, but culturally more Nigerian than American,
sure.
right? And then Bia's, you know, what is it? What did you say it was?
Blaxican.
Yeah, Blaxican. Right?
Mexalac?
Are we gonna get canceled? Is that okay?
No, it's okay.
That's fine.
That sounds like Similac or like some like baby formula or something.
I know, yeah. Hopefully they don't flag
Anyways,
this episode.
Is that like on your mind or something? Anyways, like, so you're Blaxican, right? So, but like American, right? So you're very American, very American. So has there been any like cultural things that came up as you guys? Because I ask, because actually Kat and I are like very similar culturally. Like we're our parents are from the same generation, Korean, immigrated around the same time. We grew up in SoCal around each other. So like in almost every way, culturally, we like totally get each other's cultures, and there's like no explanation needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there, yeah, but I feel like that's probably not the case for you guys. So what are some things that have come up, or any stories that you can share about that? I heard something about, like, I heard like Bia, when you guys visited Nigeria.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't eat anything because it was like really spicy. Just like, you know, just I don't know, like just maybe you can just even start with that. Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that trip was a lot of fun. It was hard in the stomach. It was a lot of fun. I think like something, I don't know what's different about us. Women are very much like, at least in Tof's family, like they're very much the matriarch. Like they run everything. From like vendors to like family gatherings to everything, they run it all. And I was just like amazed at how powerful these women are. In his family. Okay, something funny. Some like cultural difference that I noticed is like when people sneeze, they don't say bless you in Nigeria, they say sorry. And I was sneezing a lot for some reason when I was at Nigeria. I think maybe like the dust or whatever, I had allergies or something. And no, I was sick, right? I was sick. And like I kept sneezing, and like his aunt and his mom and grandma all kept saying sorry, and I was like, it's really okay, like it's just a cold.
So what's the reasoning behind sorry?
Yeah. The reason for that is so here in America, sorry is usually it's used like when you're basically showing like a remorse for something you're personally like responsible for, some wrong you did. But in Nigeria, it's more used in a sympathetic sort of way. So like if you hear like something like unfortunate that happens to someone, you say sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry that happened.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that kind of sorry.
Exactly. It's like that, but we just don't say like sorry that happened. It's like sorry, and that like communicates the sympathy. Yeah. So that's one thing that I was like surprised by too when I moved to America, because I would say stuff like that, and people would be like, "What are you saying sorry for?" And I'm like, "Oh, you don't want my sympathy, bro." like I'm just trying to show that I care. But I realized that it's because the way sorry is used here in America is very different from how it's used back in Nigeria. So yeah. That's one thing.
Oh, that's interesting. So then what do people say when they apologize?
Sorry.
Oh, okay. So it's just used more expansively.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
More of a broad.
Yeah.
Usage. Yep.
Yeah. Actually, Kat and I were talking about this recently, and she was saying that haven't you noticed Tof says like sorry for random things? And I was like, no. And then she said that saying sorry is like a Canadian thing. I don't know if that's true or not. You guys heard about that? No.
I'm not sure.
No? Okay, never mind.
Sure.
All right, cut that.
I feel like maybe it's just like the stereotype that I know in my head. Is that they say sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, but I don't know, any other like
in terms of our marriage, I don't know.
Yeah, I think one thing I was surprised by when we got married was that Bia didn't call her family as often as I did.
This is true.
Yeah. Because back home, like in terms of order of priority of things, it's like God and family are like neck and neck almost. Yeah. But like, well, we always say God is first, but like still family is like very close second, if anything, to that. And so like there's this very strong like relational dynamics between like kids and their parents. And so since college, I've called my parents like at least once a week or something like that, which I think is like more normal, I guess. But I was surprised when I would like talk to Bia sometimes when we first got married, and I ask, like what's happening with your mom or like your dad or something, and she'd be like, I'm not sure, I haven't talked to them in however long. So that was kind of like interesting to me. So I'm not sure how much of that is like American culture where like there's just a lot more like independence or something like that, but I just noticed that was kind of different for us when we first got married. How often we talk to our families.
That's true. You talk to your parents every week.
Yeah. Well, I guess I don't know if that's like an American thing, but that's an example of like families have cultures. Yeah, families come with cultures, right? And then and so then when you come together, the meeting of the two family cultures, sometimes that's where the conflict happens. Yeah, because you come in with assumptions about how things should be. And actually, so speaking of like the whole roommate thing, like if you have roommates in college and things like, and even post grad, like some of that stuff gets worked out there too. Like you learn that people are not like me, or like people's families are not like mine, right? And that expands your world actually. So so it's kind of interesting. Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, we got a lot to talk about here. So I wanted to. so part of what I want to do during these interviews with the couples is just kind of get a sense for how God is continuing to speak to you guys, and like how he's using your lives, ministries, just the ups and downs of things that you're going through to continue to form you. And I thought it'd be interesting because, you know, in our teaching times, like Sunday services, Bible studies that we do, testimonies that people hear at our retreats, like for our students, because they're in college and because they're in grad school, like we sort of tend to tell stories about stuff that happened during those times, right? Like we tend to like go back and share about how we were in college and how we struggled through that, and that's beneficial. But, you know, like the word of God is still living and active, and the Holy Spirit is continuing to work in our lives, and God who began a good work in us is continuing to bring it to completion, right? So that's all happening. So I just wanted like a forum for us to be able to kind of reflect on that and think about it. So let's just start with this past school year. Just ministry, right? I mean, ministry is a big part of our lives. You guys are part of our team, or what we call our team in Acts 2 Network, and you serve as college staff for Voyage College Church. So this past year's been different, right? Like we shifted, we made a big shift toward shifting our focus from just Illinois Tech and UChicago to embracing more of the city and saying we're going to take downtown as a campus and take the 5 to 7 schools there and like try to reach those students. So we did that, but then while we made that push, we had a pod of staff stay, like quote unquote, stay back, even though you guys were still involved in all the outreach. But like you guys were sort of assigned to maintain the relationships at UChicago and Illinois Tech, so that you were part of that pod. So like what, I don't know, like as you think about this past year so far, this past school year, like what strikes you as like, I don't know, are there some themes from ministry on how God's been kind of teaching you or showing you things or just growing you as a person and a minister?
Yeah, I think a big theme that's been on my mind, like especially since the start of the fall this past year, has been related to like what happens when we do life and ministry together, like as a church community, as a body of Christ. I think I'm gonna like compare it to like what prior to last year was. I think that was the first year, if I'm not mistaken, when we started doing a lot of like GAs and gospel appointments, and we're still very much like campus specific. And so like in that sense, like a lot of our resources and bandwidth and our thought was just going to like the few campuses we were on and the people we were meeting with from week to week. But this year kind of showed me a different flavor of like, yeah, like that is good, like the gospel appointments, and like I'm focusing on the campus. Like, yeah, it was neat to experience what that was like.
And just to define gospel appointment, it's a meeting. It's meeting up with someone for the express purpose of sharing the gospel or just at least your testimony with them. Right. And so that was a big part of our strategy in the 2023 to 2024 school year.
Yes.
And so a lot of kind of individual one-on-one type of conversations that were happening. And we had like hundreds of those, which was good. And then continue on.
Exactly. And then this year felt like a shift in that. Not that we stopped doing gospel appointments, but like DP said, we expanded to the city. But one thing that also changed was like we started doing like everything together, regardless of what your like pod focus was. So Bia and I were with the are in the UChicago IIT pod, so we're focused like primarily on those campuses. But we weren't like necessarily as a result like isolated from everything that was happening in the city.
Right.
Like what my experience of it was like when IIT started up school first, for example, we all hit the campus regardless of if you were like UT IIT pod or like Loop pod or international. We were just all there, getting the word out, putting on events, and also all at the events too to engage with new people. And when we transitioned over to the city, when the city schools started coming in, it was the same thing. We're not Loop pod necessarily, but we were in the city as well, meeting students, flying, talking at the events. And so like I really like enjoyed that experience a lot, because I can't remember what the total stats were for how many people we interfaced with as a result of that effort, but it just felt like, man, like I can't see us like accomplishing all this, like especially in the city, if we just focused on like your pod stuff. So like if it was just UCIIT pod doing IIT in Chicago ourselves, I doubt the welcome night and the people we met, it goes the same way. And same thing for the Loop pod too. But I think overall, like I look back on that period of time with a lot of fondness too, because the way we were doing it was typically like it was almost like an outreach, like a welcome month or like welcome 2 months or something like that. So
it was like a ERT evangelism road trip,
Yeah.
like every day.
yeah, everyday ERT for like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
can't remember what the exact number of days
It was like 6 weeks, but then it was like it was like 4. It was like 3 weeks, and then we had like a 2-week break, and then another 3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
But every day, after like our like ERT type activities, we would all gather back at DP and Kata's place and like eat late night, share wins, share woes, share learnings, and it just felt like we were all like aligned and like a unit, I guess, like as we were going through it together. And so like I always felt personally like really refreshed by those times when we end the nights together, because even though it was like busy, challenging, tiring or so, I was like, yeah, this is like my people that I'm doing it with, and we're all experiencing the same thing. So I think it also caused me as well to recognize kind of in relation to that the importance of like everyone working hard, because everyone really did work hard. Like everyone from the people who are like taking like the most time off to flyer to like people who are in shark costumes every single day, like all day.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, and it kind of gave me no room to think about like I guess like self-pitying thoughts like, oh man, I'm like so tired, like this is like crazy, because I was like, hey, everyone else feels this too. Like everyone else is out here like doing stuff as well.
Yeah.
And so that really gave me a lot of strength to like push through, and it's been neat to see the people we've met and people who've like come to know Jesus as a result of those efforts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because, I think we surveyed. I mean, we have like almost 2,000 numbers in our database right now. So, so we must have interacted with more than 2,000 people, right? Like, I mean,
for sure.
So, and those are just the numbers that we actually ended up getting, or,
Yeah.
over various events.
Yeah.
And like, can any single person, like, how much can a single person do, right? Like let's say, like one couple is assigned to downtown. Like, it's really intimidating being in downtown. There's cars everywhere. CTAs going by every 30 seconds. And like, you have to like shout to like be heard. And then there's like rando people walking around. And so like only like 25% of the people walking next by you is even a college student, right? So like, so all of those barriers, and here you are, you're trying to like, give out some hot chocolate. You're trying to have people fill out a survey. It's pretty hard.
Yeah.
But I remember so kind of one of my favorite memories from that time was when there was a day when even Northwestern came down because they were free. And so I think we had like, I don't know, like 30 people, like our staff team, their staff team. And then we just all broke up into like groups of 4 to 6. Like bunch, and then we all covered different intersections, like some people were in front of Target and some people were in front of some dorms, and we're just trying to survey people, and we had like 3 or 4 different sharks, and they're all like waddling around, and so and we only did that for like an hour, I think. But then like each group's experience is like, oh, we only got like one every like couple minutes or something, like we got 10 or we got 15, but you add all those up and we got like 150 surveys or whatever it was, right? And so then it just feels a lot more doable if everyone's chipping in, right, versus like one person going out there for like 8 hours and getting the same number of surveys, right? So there's something really strengthening. I think that's one of the things that makes ministry and evangelism more doable for us. Of course, we still need to do the one-on-ones and the GAs, and I think that's a very biblical way of doing ministry. But there's this other way of doing ministry also, which is there's strength in numbers, actually. And especially when, all of you guys are co-vocational ministers, right? You all have day jobs, right? And so like, Tof with his like crazy commute and traffic and gets back at like, 5:30, 6, whatever it is, like, and you have like an hour before it's dark, right?
Yeah, right.
And so then we have to use that hour well, right? And then if it's better if we do it all together. So
Yeah, that's true. I think that as Toph was sharing, I was thinking like, that makes sense why this year it didn't feel siloing to be in a pod. Not that last year felt siloing, but
tell me what you mean by siloing.
Like, oh, we're on a little island and we're all doing, or just our 4.
I guess you're in a silo.
You were in a silo.
You're just switching metaphors.
Sorry. Isolating?
Yeah, isolating.
Is a better word? Yeah, it didn't feel isolating. Like, even though, like, yes, our, 3 couples were assigned to UChicago IIT, like, it didn't feel like we were just 3 or 6 people on an island just trying to like go uphill. But because we did it all together, it felt a lot more strengthening. And like, yeah, we all knew each other's students, like both the downtown students and the Chicago students. And like, we knew what's going on in each other's lives as well. Like, it wasn't like I was seeing people for the first time at like team meeting once a week, but like, oh, I got to babysit while you were out there doing your outreach, and you babysat while we were doing outreach. And, you know, we got to make food for you guys while you were doing, you know, your activity. So I think it felt a lot more strengthening this year because, like you said, we were doing it all together.
Yeah.
And we were just like all like push hard and just what's the word? I have like a military like
charge.
Charge. Thank you. We would all just charge one campus together, and then retreat, charge and retreat and recuperate. And that felt really strengthening.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people might not have they don't know what to imagine when you're talking about the babysitting and cooking for each other. So imagine like our staff team, we have 22 team members, and we're split into 3 different pods, right? And there's like 5 in one and 6 in the other, and then 11 in the other, and something like that. And then that 11 split into another like 5 and 6 or whatever. Anyway, so there's like 4 different groupings. So then let's say like on one night, then 3 of the groupings are out doing outreach. 1 is staying back and watching kids and like cooking something so that when those 3 come back from outreach, we can have sort of a hero's welcome almost. And then we felt, we have some yummy food and we share kind of and pray together. And then we get ready for the next day. And the next day it's like a different group that stays back, right? And does that same. So it's that's the picture, right? And so then even if you're staying back, you're a part of the battle because you're helping people recuperate when you get back.
Right.
You're enabling it because, the four kids that we have here, they're being watched and the parents don't have to worry about the kids. So for me, it was a really fun time, a very intense time.
Yeah.
But a really fun time that I also have fond memories for. So
yeah.
So that's, I guess that's ministry. Then I'm curious, like, as you think about this past school year, like, what are the ways that God's been addressing you, speaking to you? Like, what are the ways that He's been continuing to form and forge you?
Yeah.
And maybe it's not through ministry, maybe it's just other things or through the Word of God, or I don't know what it is. So what comes to mind as you think about this past year?
Yeah, I think for me, this past year was very forging in that, like, a lot of different just trials happened this year, either in like my family with my parents, or I'm just personally going through different things, or even ministry feeling a little tough at times. And as I felt like in each opportunity when I wanted to just like isolate or just kind of sit in my anxieties about the future, about my family, like there was something happening, like good news was going on, or I was doing course 101, or there's just different opportunities for me to get out of myself. I think that was God's way of being like, hey, I know there's a lot going on in your personal life, but like there are also people I need you to love right now. And that actually helps me. Like ministry is like a hedge of protection because if I was just left to my own devices, I think I'd just be sitting in my anxieties, not really knowing what to do or how to handle them. And so, I'm really thankful that like this past year, in every season where there were chances where I could have just kind of sat in like my anxieties, like there was a lot of good work to do. Not that I use it as an escape, but like it was helpful, just perspective taking. Like, okay, there are these 4 girls in front of me, like, or there are like costumes and stuff I need to prepare for good news, and like there's something greater going on in life and in ministry, and like actual kingdom work that needs to be done, and like I get to be a part of that, and that helps me just right size my fears, and also see like, oh, there's something greater that I'm able to like pour out my energy and the best of my abilities into, that has lasting impact, and it rightly sizes my fears. And so I'm grateful that it's been busy, quote unquote, because I think it has allowed me to put just my own fears and anxieties into perspective. Like there is more to life than just the things I cannot control in my family and in my personal life. But I'm really grateful because as I reflect on it and see like, wow, God is able to work through even like the trials. Like they help me to like open up with people around me. It helps me to like have perspective about ministry and life. And as I look back, I'm like, wow, God was able even to work through those harder times. And I was actually having a conversation with like one of our past students, and she's like, yeah, you know what? When you did course 101 with me, like it actually helped me to come to church more. And I was like, oh, wow, like doing course 101 was really helpful for me because I got to get out of myself and like prepare content for you each week. And like I got to do it with Lauren. So it was really cool getting to like co-labor with her. And even just like reflecting on that, like, wow, like, God's able to use everything to minister to people. And so I'm thankful that in each stage and each trial, like there was something else I can pour my heart into to kind of help me to refocus, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like, could I ask, like, what, I mean, whatever you're comfortable sharing, of course, but, like, because what you're describing, it's a little bit abstract, because, like, so the trials, and you're thankful for ministry, people to pour into, in a sense, to get your mind off of it. But I guess there's a part of me that wrestles with that, because depending on the trial, like maybe the trial needs to be faced head on as well, because I don't want people to hear what you're saying and think like, oh, so like because of ministry and because it's busy, like you just get your mind off of things, and it could seem like you're just brushing it under the rug, but I don't think that's what you're saying. So maybe it would help if you gave it a specific example of like a trial that you went through, and like how God taught you through that.
Let's see, what's the most recent one? I think currently there's a lot of tension in my family between my parents. They're going through like a legal battle, and so like that's been on my mind a lot, and yet like in this time period, it's also when we've been like, I'm not sure if it was around the same time as Good News, but like we still have been like pretty like busy planning for different things. ERT trip, Midwest Rally, like there's a lot of good work to do. And so even though, I'm like kept abreast about what's going on in my family, like my mom calls me or I check in about it, like it still reminds me like, okay, like even though I can't really control what's going on in my family and I'm not there in California, I can't really like counsel my parents. That's not really my place. There's still a lot of good work here that I do quote unquote have control over, like how present I am in front of like people, and like how much I share with like the sisters in my life about the struggles I'm going through, and like it doesn't diminish them, so to speak, but they also like there's also like people here and good work to do that I can invest my heart in, so that I'm not just stuck worrying about my family and worrying about like what I can't really control in their situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, the example that you just gave, like, so to me, what if I had to characterize it, it kind of sounds like, like obviously this is stressful, right? Like, your parents going through that, and but in some ways it's like out of your control.
It's out of my control,
right? It's something that you actually, so it's a trial in that it's happening to people you love. It's obviously, I'm sure, causing conflict and just tension within the family, and it's just kind of messy. And so maybe there's a sense in which then so actually, we just covered Matthew 6, at Sunday service, and it's sort of that, it's that idea of, well, there's anxieties, and in the midst of that passage, right, Jesus teaches us to seek first the kingdom of God, right? And like, to a certain degree, right, he says, like, which of you by worrying can add a single hour to his span of life?
Right, exactly.
And I think part of Jesus' point there is that you don't control a lot of the things you feel anxious about. Yeah. And actually, in that situation, Jesus's recommendation is to seek first the kingdom of God, right? And everything else will fall into place. And so then I see a direct correlation there. Like, so that's a very good example of like an anxiety that you can't control, right? And then so then I see how you experienced ministry, the opportunity to pour into people around you, to do good work for the kingdom, like as something that God has provided, almost like in your life, to help you overcome that anxiety. Because I'm sure you'd be thinking about it endlessly.
Endlessly.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Yeah. What about for you, Tof? What's been going on in your life? How's the Holy Spirit hitting you nowadays?
Yeah, for sure. I think one way the Holy Spirit's been speaking to me, a way that comes to mind is in the in the area of like giving a lot of credence to people's externals. And what I mean by that is like looking at like people who have like maybe rank or status in the world in some way, like in the workplace, for example, and viewing that as like, yeah, the most impressive thing or like the most attractive thing. So whether it's like someone being like a director at my workplace or like someone just being like a professional athlete who's like physically gifted or whatever, like I give a lot of credence to like those external things that the world generally says is like valuable and impressive. And I realized that, yeah, because I lend a lot of credence to those things, I also end up like desiring those things for myself too. And one way I was seeing that manifest in my heart a lot this past year was really just what came down to, I guess, envy of people in my workplace who like had that status or had those positions and things of that nature. And I think as a result, like there was this sense of like, I guess a little bit of like anxiety I felt around them too, like really wanting their like approval, their recognition, and wanting to just do the things that would get me to be in the same positions that they were. So I just really like viewed like that small aspect of like who they were as like really the most important thing. And so that really dictated a lot of my like interactions with them, as well as like just the way I carried myself at work. One way I think God's word's been speaking to me a lot this past year is there's a passage that comes to mind specifically, like when I think about like these types of struggles, and it's Psalm 73, where the psalmist talks a lot about he basically talks about the prosperity of the wicked and how he himself looked at the people who were like godless with envy and wanting to have what they had. But then he comes to this spot where he's able to go into God's sanctuary, he says, and looks past that and sees, oh, hey, like, you know, I can actually see the end of these people. Like, even though like they seem really impressive now, at the end of the day, what really matters is that they're going to stand before God someday and they have to answer for their lives. And at that point, like, you know, however physically gifted you were or how like impressive you were in like the workplace, that's not what's going to like give you standing in God's eyes. It's going to be about, yeah, like, did we have a relationship in the time you spent on earth? And I think I feel like this past year was a lot of like learning to, I guess, see past those externals in people. And I think one way that I tried to like do that, or I've been experiencing it helping me like get to that place, is like actually just like moving towards people, like not just keeping like a distance and just looking at them kind of longingly, but actually trying to like connect, get to know them, sharing about what's happening in my life, asking them about their spiritual background and things like that. And it just kind of like humanizes people a lot more. And I realized, hey, like, you know, they might be like the super big shot at work, but they have a lot of the same worries and anxieties that I do, a lot of the same questions that I had before I became Christian. And those things kind of help me like get clarity on like, oh yeah, like as much as this thing is like impressive or whatever, like this person has a deeper like soul longing or soul need that I've been able to personally satisfy because of the gospel, and that they need to. And so it kind of just helped me like realize like, oh yeah, people's biggest need isn't really like, you know, being impressive or having rank or status. It's really like having their soul longing met, which is a relationship with Jesus. That's the only thing that can provide that. So this past year was a lot of that. And I think I'm not sure if it's like a product of like, I think a lot of people probably struggle with this too, but I feel like particularly like since I graduated from college in my 20s and just seeing like my peers at work advance, these types of things or thoughts were just really prevalent in my mind this past year, because a lot of them like advanced a lot this past year basically. And so I was kind of wondering like, oh yeah, like, you know, I'm still here. Like, you know, yeah, I'm still where I'm at or whatever, because I'm not pouring as like much of myself into work as my like peers are. But I think going through Psalm 73, internalizing that helped a lot for me this past year.
Yeah, I think I mean, how old are you guys now? You're guys like mid-20s, right?
27.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're like late 20s. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know.
So when did that happen? Anyways,
right.
I know.
So yeah, I think that's like when the divergence starts. And what I mean by the divergence is that like yeah, the fact is you guys are co-vocational ministers, and I think you see yourselves that way. You see yourselves as a minister of the gospel. I mean, you're not like full-time pastoral staff, but man, you do a lot of the things that, you know, full-time ministers do. You know, you counsel people and you share the gospel with people. You're out like meeting non-Christians and, you know, trying to get them to engage with the Bible, and that's really time-consuming. And then let alone the time that you spend on your own personal devotion, right? Like, you know, Bible and prayer and all the retreats that we attend, you know, and trainings and things like that. So, I mean, you're doing all that, and, you know, a typical working person doesn't deal with any of that, right? Mm-hmm. So they're not only working more hours than you, they're also, you know, sleeping more hours than you, and probably exercising more. Actually, no, maybe not.
For me,
maybe not compared to Tof, but yeah, compared to me, maybe and Bia, but right. So, anyways, right. So then you just look at the sheer number of hours that they're investing, right? A typical person is investing, and versus someone who's like, you know, you're gonna do your 40 hours, but you're not gonna take extra time because you have this other thing that you're doing, right? And in their early 20s, you don't see as much of a difference, but I feel like by the late 20s, you start to see a divergence. Yeah. And in your 30s is when the divergence becomes very clear. Yeah. And it's a decision we have to make. It's say, yeah, do I want to be impressive in the eyes of the world, or do I want to live my life for something that will not, like, that moth and rust will not destroy? Yeah. Right. And thieves will not break in and steal. Right. And that's hopefully the decision that we're all intentionally making, right? Like, we didn't accidentally fall into this lifestyle. No, we're saying, no, we're actually investing to the right things. And at the end of life, at the end of our time here on earth, we will not be the ones that regret our lives, right? Those who did not invest into eternity, they are the ones who will regret their lives. Yeah. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that's a real struggle and a trial that I think is just beginning for you, Tof. I'm glad that you're kind of thinking about that, and that God's been speaking to you about that. Yeah. And I think I predict that will be something you'll have to wrestle year over year. Yeah. For the next few years, until it's really settled for you in your heart. Yeah. That, you know what, I'm living the better life. Yeah. Right. And I know I do not have to envy the wicked. Right. I mean, I don't mean wicked in a mean way. I'm just quoting Psalm 73. Yeah. For sure. That's how it characterizes it. So, you know, I'm sure your coworkers are fine people. Yeah. So let me just ask you this way, okay? Like, if you had to give yourself advice, your 1 year younger self advice, is that enough time? Anyways, let's just try it. Yeah. Like, what would you say to yourself a year ago about how this year is gonna go? And just give yourself some advice. It doesn't have to be sage. It can be like brute force. But, you know,
just actually, I was like reading my reflection from like almost like a year ago. I was struggling in that reflection, but I think I would tell myself, like, you're not awesome at ministry, and that's okay. You're not supposed to be awesome. You're just supposed to be willing and humble and obedient. If things don't go well, it's okay. You know, a lot of these things, like you said, are outside of your control. So just hang in there. Trust me, God has a plan for how he's shaping you and the people around you. And it's way beyond what you can imagine. Now looking at downtown, I'm like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. That's what God had in store.
Because a year ago, ministry was feeling really hard.
It was feeling hard.
It was feeling really hard,
Yeah,
right?
it was feeling really hard.
The fruit of it was very unclear and
very uncertain. But just hang in there.
Hang in there. Yeah.
This is good for you. Let this humble you that you're not as awesome as you think you are.
Yeah. I think this is a theme also, Bia, for you, that you're trying to be awesome.
Yeah.
And before your husband.
For God.
Before God. You're just trying to, there's something there. I think you should think about that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, you know, you're loved by God and by your husband, and it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. I got you.
Thank you.
And even if he doesn't, God's got you.
Amen.
Yeah, I feel like Tof's neck, something's broken. Like, he keeps nodding so much. Like, it's like a hinge is broken. Anyways, okay. What about you, Toph? What would be your sage advice for yourself?
You won't regret sacrificing, but you regret being selfish. Yeah, that'll be my advice. Yeah.
Oh, what's going on?
Amber Alert.
No, don't call emergency services.
Oh, what? Why are we calling Amber?
Sorry. Don't call 911. Don't call 911.
I think Bia tried to. Oh, is it hung up?
Yeah, notification canceled. Okay. I tried to silence a call. Like
Yeah, and then she pressed the power button 5 times probably. In case you didn't know, PSA that actually causes an SOS mode to go off on your phone.
Good to know.
And it'll call 911
because
it's you're supposed to do that like if you're like being kidnapped or something, and then it's a way to dial 911 without looking at your phone.
Yeah.
But then the thing is, it makes that loud noise, so
Yeah.
then like it can't be discreet.
Exactly. Seems
So then they're gonna
counterproductive.
know you're calling. So I never understood that.
Yeah.
But it's good to know in this situation because otherwise we would have just called 911.
Right. Yes.
So I don't know what's worse.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like just subtly calling 911 and listen to the podcast.
They're
Would
like,
that be a bad thing?
what is happening right now?
Are you safe? Are you safe right now? I'm sorry. I was not expecting.
That's funny.
That.
That's a kind of funny little
Hopefully
thing
the
there.
fire
We'll keep it in.
department
We'll
doesn't
keep
come
it
to
in.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but Toph was saying, you won't regret sacrificing.
Yeah, you won't regret sacrifice, but you regret being selfish. What I look back at this past year, like what I realized that all the moments where I like made like small decisions, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take PTO to like help with like outreach or like good news, or like I'm going to give up like my evening plans to like do something like related to that, or like help be there for my friend, or like help be with them while they do something else. Like all those things, like whenever I did that, like I don't look back on any of it with like regret, but I'm like happy I did all those things.
Yeah.
But then every time I chose instead to like prioritize like my own schedule and like what I thought was important, what I wanted to do, there was always a bit of like second guessing in my heart that happened afterwards. Like, oh, I know I probably shouldn't have like been selfish there, or like been on my own there. Like I should have moved towards, people or like serving and things like that. But I never had to have that mental calculus at all when I choose to sacrifice instead. And so I think I would just tell myself, hey, like, there's a lot of sacrifice opportunity coming your way. It's better to just lean into it than to fight against it.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. When you were sharing, it reminded me of that story of I forget the details now. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but it's like 2 kids, like a guy and a boy and a girl, and they decide to. They have like one has like red marbles and the other has blue marbles or something. They decide to like trade, like, hey, like I'll trade you my marble collection for your marble collection. It's like, oh, okay, but then like the boy decides to hold back a couple of his marbles and says, oh, this is everything I have, and so then they trade, but then the girl gives everything, right? And then the moral of the story is like who slept that night. Yeah. Right. And the girl slept fine at night, knowing that, she gave everything she had. But then the boy couldn't sleep that night because he knew he had cheated that girl.
Yeah.
And he hadn't given everything he had said he had. Yeah. And so it's like that. Like I agree with you that the times when I've regretted things is when I've held things back versus giving everything that I have and just trying my hardest to obey the Lord. So yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all we have time for today. So thank you guys for coming back on dPod.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get through all the other couples. That'll be at least like probably 6 couples or something.
Yeah.
Maybe like 6 more episodes.
Cool.
All right. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Anyways.